Dark chosen ones, do you always hide your true self? Watch this now. Most people have no idea who they truly are. They walk through life wearing masks they forgot they put on. But you, there's something about you that's different, isn't there? You've always felt it. Since you were a child, there's been this strange sensation, like you're not fully from here. Like you've been dropped into this world with a memory that's just out of reach. Something ancient. Something powerful. And let me tell you something that no one else will dare say out loud. You are one of the dark chosen ones. Now, before your mind runs wild with fantasy or fear, let's get one thing straight. Being a dark chosen one isn't about being evil. It's not about darkness in the cartoonish sense. It's about carrying a depth, a shadow, a spiritual intensity so strong that it scares the average person. It's about being born with gifts that society never taught you how to use. It's about having access to dimensions of emotion, vision, and knowing that others can't even imagine. And because of that deep, raw power, you were taught to hide, to shrink, to conform. You were taught that your intensity is too much. Your vision is too unrealistic. Your emotions are too dramatic. So you buried it. You buried your true self so deeply that even you began to forget what it looked like.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
But you've always known, haven't you? Deep down, you've always felt the pull, the call, the ache that says, there's more to me than this. I want to speak to that part of you now, the part you've never fully let out, the part that watches people from the sidelines, knowing exactly what they're feeling, even when they lie about it. The part that walks into a room and instantly senses the energy. The part that dreams vivid dreams, sees symbols and feels things before they happen. The part that feels rage, grief, love, and ecstasy in ways that no one around you understands. That's not madness, that's not weakness, that's your gift, that's your power, that's why you're here. But here's the truth, most dark chosen ones are stuck, trapped in lives that don't reflect who they are, working jobs that drain their souls, in relationships where they can't be themselves, surrounded by people who only see the surface, and underneath it all is a screaming silence. This unbearable knowing that they're meant for more. But they don't know how to access it. They don't know where to begin. So they keep hiding, they keep pretending, and the longer they do, the more their energy decays, the more their gifts turn against them. Because here's what no one tells you. When you suppress who you are, your power doesn't disappear, it mutates. It becomes anxiety, depression, rage, numbness, addictions, isolation. You think you're broken, but you're not. You're just disconnected from your source. Your energy is trying to break through, but the mask is too tight. So the question isn't, what's wrong with me? The real question is, what have I hidden from myself? Let that question land, really let it land. You see, a true awakening doesn't start with light. It starts with darkness. It starts with facing the parts of yourself that you were told to fear, the parts that don't fit into polite society, the parts that want to scream, break, dance, create, destroy, and rebuild. That's the real initiation. And that's why most people will never wake up. because they're too afraid to look into their own abyss. But you've already been living in it. You've already tasted the shadows. That's why you're still here. That's why. But here's the hard truth. Being a dark chosen one means you don't get to wait for permission. No one's coming to save you. No one's going to hand you the key. You are the key. Your liberation begins the moment you stop asking for approval and start embodying your truth, even if it's messy, even if it's misunderstood, even if it's terrifying, especially because it's terrifying. So how do you begin? You begin by telling the truth, first to yourself, then to the world. You begin by looking in the mirror and saying, "This is who I really am," even if your voice shakes, even if your hands tremble, even if no one believes you. You begin by reclaiming the parts of yourself you rejected, the weirdness, the wildness, the rage, the visions, the sensuality, the magic. You begin by owning your shadows, not as flaws, but as fuel. Because here's the paradox, your shadow contains your light. The parts you've been hiding are the very parts that hold your power, your creativity, your insight, your magnetism, your healing. When you reclaim them, you don't just raise your vibration, you become unstoppable, you become magnetic. People will start to feel it. They won't know what it is, but they'll feel it. They'll be drawn to you, or they'll be terrified by you. Either way, you'll finally be seen, not the mask, not the act, the real you. But this path isn't easy, it's not glamorous, it's not always safe. You will lose people, you will outgrow environments, you will walk alone, but you will also find your soul tribe. You will find magic, you will find purpose, and most of all, you will find peace. Not the fake peace of pretending everything's fine, the real peace that comes from living in integrity with your soul. So here's the question I want you to sit with tonight, truly and deeply. What part of me have I been hiding because I thought the world wouldn't accept it? Don't try to answer it right now. Let it echo. Let it haunt you. Let it burn through the lies. And when the answer comes, don't look away, because that answer is the doorway, and what's on the other side? Everything you've ever been searching for. The shadow crown. Why your pain was actually the mark of your power. There is a lie that's been passed down for generations, etched into every corner of this world, that pain is a punishment, that suffering is a flaw, that if you're hurting, something must be wrong with you. But what if I told you the opposite is true? That the pain you've carried, quietly, privately, relentlessly, was never a curse, but a crown. A shadow crown. The invisible mark that reveals who you truly are. Not weak, not broken, but chosen. Not in the way most people think. Not chosen to be worshipped or praised. Chosen to transform. Chosen to feel deeper. Chosen to carry what others could not. Chosen to remember the truth in a world addicted to lies. You see, most people avoid pain like it's the enemy. They numb it, bury it, outrun it. But pain, especially the kind that never seems to fully leave you, is not random. It's sacred. It's a signal. It's the soul's way of shaking you awake. And for dark chosen ones, that pain often starts young. Maybe you were the black sheep in your family, the one who felt too much, the one who saw too much. Maybe you were told you were too intense, too sensitive, too emotional. Maybe you were abused, misunderstood, or ignored. And in those moments, you didn't just feel pain, you became it. It wove itself into your identity. And that's where the forgetting began. But here's what no one told you. The reason the pain was so deep is because your soul is so vast. The reason you felt everything so strongly is because you were meant to. Pain was never there to destroy you. It was there to forge you, to test you, to initiate you into a level of awareness that most people never reach. And the ones who come out the other side, they don't just survive, they alchemize. They turn wounds into wisdom, grief into grace, rage into purpose. That's what it means to wear the shadow crown. Look at your life. Really look. Can you see the pattern? The heartbreaks that cracked you open, the betrayals that stripped away the false layers, the losses that forced you to let go of what was never truly yours, the nights you thought would break you but somehow didn't. Somehow you're still here. And not just here. You're aware. You see things others don't. You feel what others avoid. You know, deep in your bones, that there's more to this life than what we've been told. That's not an accident. That's initiation. The shadow crown isn't visible to the eye. It's felt in the weight you carry, the silence you keep, the strength you never asked for but had to develop. It's felt in the way you can hold space for others when they fall apart, in the way people come to you with their secrets, even when you're the one who needs saving. It's felt in the way you walk into a room and shift the energy without saying a word. That's not charisma. That's resonance. That's the frequency of someone who's walked through fire and didn't lose their soul. But here's the thing. The shadow crown is heavy only when you resist it, when you try to pretend you're normal, when you try to suppress how deeply you feel, when you try to fit into a world that was never built for someone like you. That's when the pain feels unbearable. But the moment you accept it, the moment you say, yes, this is who I am, the weight shifts. The crown doesn't disappear, but it becomes a source of power instead of suffering. So let me ask you this. What if your pain wasn't meant to be healed, but to be honored? That's a radical thought, I know. But maybe what you've been calling healing is actually another form of hiding. Maybe you've been trying to erase your scars because you think they make you unlovable, when, in truth, they're the very proof that you've lived, endured, and evolved. The shadow crown is not about being perfect. It's about being true, raw, real. And in that truth, there is unimaginable strength. There's a reason you're watching this, a reason you've made it this far. Your soul is done pretending. You're ready now not just to remember who you are, but to embody it. The world doesn't need another light worker floating above the chaos. It needs grounded, powerful beings who can stand in the dark and be the anchor. That's what you are. That's why the pain came, not to break you, but to build you into a vessel strong enough to hold the truth. So here's your challenge. Stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what is this trying to awaken in me? That shift in perspective is everything, because the moment you stop fighting the pain and start listening to it, it transforms. It opens gates. It reveals instructions. It shows you the medicine you were born to carry, not just for yourself, but for others. You are not here to be normal. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be legendary, but only if you're willing to wear the crown, not just the golden one, but the shadow one too, the hidden temple, unlocking the secret power you've always denied. There is a temple within you that no one ever showed you how to find. Not your parents, not your teachers, not even the spiritual leaders you may have followed. It's not a temple made of stone or sacred texts. It's not decorated with candles or prayer beads. It's carved from silence, built from pain, and guarded by every version of you that was told to sit down and stay quiet. And yet, this temple is the only place where your true power lives. It's where your essence, raw, unfiltered, divine, waits for you to return. And the reason you've felt so restless, so disconnected, so not quite here your whole life is because you've been standing outside of it, knocking, while pretending you weren't the one who built it. Here's the truth. Most people will never say out loud. The most powerful parts of you are hidden beneath the things you've been most afraid to feel. Your power isn't in your light, it's in the parts of you you've kept in the dark. In that moment of heartbreak that shattered your identity, in the shame you buried so deep you forgot it had a voice, in the anger you suppressed because it made people uncomfortable. That's where the temple begins, and most people never go there, not because they can't, but because they don't want to face what's guarding the door, themselves. Let me ask you something deeply uncomfortable. What part of you have you denied so completely that you've started believing it never existed? You see, the world taught you how to be acceptable, how to be safe, how to be digestible to others. And in learning that, you forgot how to be whole. You've been operating at a fraction of your original blueprint, trying to manifest from a half-charged soul, trying to love from a guarded heart, trying to create while hiding the source of your creation. It doesn't work. That's why nothing sticks. That's why your vibration rises and crashes like a wave, because your foundation is incomplete. The hidden temple isn't about becoming someone new, it's about remembering someone ancient. It's about reclaiming the part of you that doesn't perform, doesn't apologize, doesn't shrink, the part that knows, not from ego, but from essence. And the only way to enter that temple is through radical self-integration, not self-improvement, not self-polishing, integration. That means going back for the pieces you left behind. The child who was told they were too much, the teenager who learned to silence their magic, the adult who played small for so long they forgot how to roar. These are not broken versions of you, they are initiates, aspects of your power waiting to be remembered. But here's the twist no one tells you. The temple doesn't open with love and light, it opens with truth. And truth is messy. It's uncomfortable. It destroys before it rebuilds. That's why it's sacred. You don't get to tiptoe into the temple. You have to bleed into it. You have to let the masks fall. You have to be willing to feel the things you've spent decades avoiding. Only then do the gates open. Only then does the power rise, not as a performance, but as presence. And when it does, everything changes. You stop seeking validation because you realize nothing outside of you can compete with the energy inside of you. You stop chasing alignment because you become alignment. You stop asking for permission to be seen because your energy commands visibility. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to explain. You just are. And that presence, rooted, raw, real, is magnetic. It's what people feel but can't describe. It's why some will be drawn to you and others will be repelled. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your frequency is no longer pretending. That's what happens when you unlock the temple. But don't misunderstand. This is not a one-time event. The temple is alive. It evolves as you do. Every time you reclaim another piece of yourself, the temple expands. Every time you tell the truth you've never spoken, the walls glow brighter. Every time you forgive a version of yourself you used to hate, the energy amplifies. This is the real spiritual work, not bypassing the shadow, but building with it. Not escaping pain, but alchemizing it into power. So here's your invitation. Stop running from the parts of you that feel like too much. They are the threshold. They are the key. You were never meant to be palatable. You were meant to be sovereign. And sovereignty begins when you stop waiting for someone else to hand you your crown and walk into the temple of your own being to claim it yourself. You don't need fixing, you need remembering. And if you're still here, still listening, still breathing through the weight of this truth, then you're ready. The final seal. How to awaken the world changer hidden in your soul. There's a moment in every true journey when the seeker stops seeking, not because they found everything, but because they realized they were what they were looking for all along. That moment, subtle, quiet, almost imperceptible, is the breaking of the final seal. The veil lifts, the illusion collapses, and in its place, something ancient begins to stir. Not a concept, not a philosophy, a force. Raw, unmistakable, uncompromising, that force is you, the real you, the world changer, the soul who didn't come here to blend in, but to rebuild reality from the inside out. But let's be honest, if you were born to change the world, why has the world always made you feel like you don't belong in it? As the system isn't designed for awakeners, it's built to keep the sleepers comfortable. You, on the other hand, were encoded with something rare, a blueprint that activates under pressure, a spirit that refuses to be caged. And so, your life hasn't been easy, not because you're weak, but because you're wired for evolution. You carry the vibration of transformation, and transformation always comes with fire. That's why you've walked through things others couldn't survive. That's why your suffering was never just personal. It was alchemical. Every heartbreak, every breakdown, every dark night of the soul was preparing you to become something the world has no name for yet. At that land, the final seal isn't about finding your purpose. It's about embodying your essence so fully that purpose becomes inevitable. It's about no longer asking, "What am I here to do?" and instead becoming a living transmission of truth, so potent that your mere presence rewrites the room. That's what you're capable of. That's who you've always been. But there's one last choice you have to make. Will you own it? Because here's the thing. Awakening the world changer in your soul doesn't mean you suddenly become fearless. It means you stop letting fear make your decisions for you. It means you stop waiting for the perfect plan and start moving with imperfect knowing. It means you stop dimming your voice because others aren't ready and start speaking with the fire that was born in your bones. It means you become unavailable for anything that insults your soul, no matter how familiar, how convenient, or how safe. You were not built for safety. You were built for impact. But here's the paradox of it all. To awaken the world changer, you must first accept that the world may never clap for you. In fact, it might reject you, mock you, abandon you. But that's only because it recognizes your light before you do. The world feels your frequency, and it has no idea what to do with someone who can't be sedated, sold, or silenced. But you do. you know. Maybe not in your mind, but somewhere deeper in the marrow of your spirit. You've always known that your life was never meant to be average. It was meant to be legendary, not because of ego, but because of essence. So this is your moment, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Now, this breath, this choice. Will you reclaim your fire? Will you walk as the version of yourself that no longer hides, no longer apologizes, no longer waits? Will you live like someone who remembers they are the storm, the sanctuary, and the sacred all at once? Because the world doesn't need more influences, it needs initiators. And you don't change the world by preaching to it. You change it by becoming the living embodiment of a truth so undeniable, it echoes in every heart it touches. You, dark chosen one, are not here to follow paths. You are here to forge them. And the final seal? It was never locked. It was waiting for you to remember that you were the key all along.